So I'm Candace Cabral, I'm Isabella's mom. She's just over 2 years old, and we had a perfect pregnancy. She was my third child, and it was a hospital delivery with midwives. And after about 45 minutes of pushing, she went into distress. And so a doctor was called, and within 5 minutes, they had vacuumed her out of me. Didn't really realize this or remember, but my husband says that she wasn't breathing, and I guess on the report was essentially born dead. And so, but they were able to resuscitate her, and after a few minutes in the room, they whisked her off to the ICU. At that point, she had been in the ICU at our current hospital for about 12 hours. We had not seen her yet, and they were just trying to do all of those first hour things to keep her alive. Turned out we had COVID, and hospital did not realize this till 2 hours after delivery. And so it was about 10 days later before I was able to hold her and to see her in person, and she had been transferred to another hospital. So ultimately what happened was she went into distress. It caused lack of oxygen in the birth canal, and so she was born with brain damage, and they didn't know quite the extent of what that would mean for her. She was in ICU for 16 days, and there they diagnosed her with low muscle tone, brain damage, and told us that she had to have PT immediately upon leaving the hospital. And again, not knowing the extent of what the brain damage would mean for her. Thankfully, 3 months later, we had a neurology appointment, all the MRI, all the brain scans, and it was declared that her brain had healed naturally on its own. But again, we didn't know what repercussions would still be had for her. So we did have her in PT starting 3 weeks old. And so we had a wonderful therapist who was able to come to our home for several months, and then we moved her to the Florida Early Intervention Program, where they have been wonderful, and we've added speech and OT services around 12 months old. And she's made significant progress. Her PT, physical therapist, just around 18 months was still concerned with a lot of primitive reflexes that had not gone away. There's a lot of little things that she didn't understand of what was going on with Isabella, and just really pushed us to have a neurology appointment. And it took a long time to get into an appointment. And 9 months later, we finally got into the hospital closest to us that's also very good with neurology, and they were able to diagnose her with cerebral palsy. And so that was a hard diagnosis, because up until then we just thought, oh, it's just low muscle tone. And so now with the diagnosis of cerebral palsy, it also opened us up. It kind of opened our world to what more was really going on with her. We were able to go to the National Health Institute for Cerebral Palsy research project, and there they were able to give us further diagnosing of spasticity and dystonia in her body, and how that was affecting her and where that was affecting her. And it opened us up to understanding the need of additional therapies. Once we realized all that, we started researching online for therapies for cerebral palsy, and that's how we found the Oxford Center. And we came here all the way from South Florida because of the special therapies that they do have here, and just that everything's under one roof. We found the Oxford Center, and that's when we learned about suit therapy. We did find suit therapy close to us, an hour away in Miami, but we couldn't find funding to spend in Florida. And where they had suit therapy there, they didn't have hyperbaric in the same facility. It wasn't sort of an all-in-one package like we have here at the Oxford. So we chose to travel across to the other side of the country to take advantage of what Oxford has available. It was not easy. We had a month to figure this out because we wanted to get here as soon as possible. So the Oxford Center connected us with the Oxford Kids Foundation, and they were able to cover a large majority of the costs to be here. So here at the Oxford Center, she is getting the TheraSuit therapy, which is 3 hours a day for 4 weeks. We are doing a 4-week program. We're also getting 40 hyperbaric treatments, so twice a day, for about an hour and 20 minutes a day. And then on top of that, it was important for us to continue her speech and OT therapy while here. And so we're doing 5 days a week of speech therapy, and we were able to get in for 2 days of occupational therapy as well. So there's been some significant differences that we've seen with Isabella. One of the first things that I noticed after about 2 weeks of being here was I realized that I had not put a bib on her for about a week. And I had gone out of my way to buy bibs for this trip because her drooling had gotten so bad over the last several months. And for some reason, it didn't dawn on me until a couple weeks later. And so I asked her physical therapist about that. And she said, yes, it has to do with some of the neck exercises that they were doing in physical therapy to strengthen her neck muscles and just her core muscles. And now she's not even drooling at all. One of the other main differences that we've seen in her is that her walking has stabilized and her posture has straightened up. She used to have to sort of lean forward when walking, and now she has a proper upright posture when walking. And the tightness in her arms, I feel like, has relaxed a lot. She still does raise her hands when walking because that's her comfortability level, but it's a lot less rigid. And her wrist is not as, I think, postured, I think is the term they used. It's more natural, in a more natural position at this point. So one of the great benefits of coming here for the intensive therapy alongside the TheraSuit is all of the rehab side of the physical therapy that she's getting. At home, she only has like 2 sessions a week of 30 minutes. And so it's just a lot of teaching her how to walk or crawl or how to do this movement or that movement, but there wasn't a lot of, if any, just rehabilitation of what's going on the inside. And here she's getting an hour or 2 of that every day, even before she gets into the suit. And that's when I realized that's such an important component to her rehabilitation, is just correcting those muscles and how things are functioning inside and how that's affecting what she's able to do outwardly. So with her speech, she had been struggling to form consonant sounds, just the muscles. She just really struggles with that. And while she is still struggling with that, she has made significant progress with her B's and her P's. And that's something we've worked on for a long while back home. Also too, her vocabulary has just immensely grown since we've been here. And while she's not speaking those with clear consonant sounds, it's obvious what she's trying to say. And just her uses of vocabulary and what she's trying to speak. Like, I'm just astounded. It's just a completely different child at this point, like vocabulary-wise. And I'm excited to go back home and continue to work on the consonant sounds on the vocabulary that she's using. So going forward, our future plans, Isabella is, just over 2. And she has spasticity, and so one of the things that we're told is that once she turns 3 to 4, that spasticity really starts to set in, and it would be much harder to overcompensate for the things, the way her body is just going to develop with that. So this is sort of what I call our golden year of doing anything and everything special we can to progress her as far as possible this year before that stuff starts to set in. So we are looking to come back for another round of TheraSuit intensive therapy. As long as that's recommended, which I assume it will be. We're going to be looking for additional special therapies at home as well. That's been recommended to us by her at-home physical therapist, as well as therapists here and other people. So it's going to be a very busy year for little Isabella. And suit therapy or TheraSuit therapy will definitely be part of that plan. Thank you, Oxford Kids Foundation, for providing this opportunity for us to be here. Without your large generous contribution, it wouldn't have been possible for us to be here now. And the difference that it's made in Isabella's future is greatly appreciated.